Hey, Slater Crusaders, my name is Mike Slater. This is the show where we talk about something important, something that's going to make you smart, something that's going to make you feel good. We like to call it Here's What's Up. So imagine you go to the hospital, and there's a machine right there on the shelf that could save your life. But the government won't let you use it. The truth is, bureaucracy kills. There is a machine, it's $39,000, it's the size of a toaster. It's like a toaster that big. And it detects Ebola within 60 minutes with 90% accuracy. But the FDA will not let that hospital in Dallas use it. They have one. They have one of these machines. It's just sitting on a shelf right down the hall from the guy who had Ebola. And the doctors couldn't use it. So they just kept asking him questions like, do you have a fever? How do you feel? Okay. Well, you can't really tell if you have Ebola or not. So go home, and if you start bleeding from your eyes, go ahead and give us a call back. Like, well, thanks for your help, FDA. By the way, that machine, the military is using it in West Africa to detect whether or not people have Ebola. So they can use it in Africa, but not in America? And let's talk about the president's handling of this. Could he have picked a worse person as the Ebola Ayatollah? I want to quote Ron Fournier here. He says in his editorial, 1, we shouldn't need an Ebola czar. And number 2, we already put someone in charge of corralling federal bureaucracies and coordinating local responses to national emergencies. His name is Batman.
I am Batman!
Now, his name is Barack Obama. Listen, the left thinks all good things come from government. So if something bad happens, that means it's because we didn't have enough government. So their plan is to go ahead and spend more money and add to the bureaucracy. That's all this Ebola Ayatollah is. It's not going to change anything. If anything, it's only going to make it worse. So think back to your grade school days, and you can remember this motivational poster up on the wall, right? Well, Thomas Jefferson said pretty much the same thing a couple hundred years ago. I love this part of his quote. He said, whenever you are to do a thing, though it can never be known but to yourself, ask yourself, how would you act were all the world looking at you? And act accordingly. I love that. So even if no one's looking, act like everyone is. Check this story out. Mainstream media starting to abandon this Obama ship just a little bit. This is from CBS News of all places. All right, the scheme goes something like this. The president just last week flew from DC to California, gave one official speech, and then went to 3 $32,000 a plate dinner at some starlet's house in Hollywood and rich people's. Listen, he even went to one fundraiser at a real estate tycoon's house. His name is Rich Richmond. And he was there and whined about how Republicans cater to billionaires. The guy's name's Rich Richmond. It's like an SNL skit. Now the trick is, the taxpayers, you pay for all of his fundraising trips. Because he had an official visit, and while I'm there, I might as well go to a couple fundraisers too. You pay for all that. Hillary Clinton does the same thing. She'll charge a school or an organization $225,000 to give a speech. And while she's there, she'll go and knock out a few fundraisers as well. And she does that and never charges the DNC. She never charges the Democratic Party. So essentially the school is paying for her to fundraise, and the school gets their money by tuition and student loans. And all this is done for the Democratic Party. Quite a racket. And to go back to the Thomas Jefferson quote, the White House won't release any information about it because they know what they're doing is super shady. If only our president would take the president's advice.
Citizens rightly demand more responsiveness, more openness, more transparency, more accountability from their governments.
Feel good story. 8-year-old Gabe White carried off the field on Friday. Gabe has Down syndrome. He's the manager of his older brother's freshman football team and the biggest fan, of course. And on the team's last game, he was called on the field. And this time, everyone cheered for him.
We're not touchdown to my score.
Thank you, Slater Crusaders. Thank you all for subscribing. You can check out our last video right here. Miles was filling in for me. You can download the Liberty Tree app right here, absolutely free, in the App Store and the Google Play Store, and works for iPhone 6 if you're one of those super rich people who can afford that. And also, we have our radio show. We do it every single day. You just got to click right there. PSA of the day, Gandalf has some advice for students.
If you don't do your revision properly,
Do you know what will happen?